Welcome to another edition of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle. In this hour, we're bringing you highlights from some of our top shows focused on youth, community, and lifestyle. Please be sure to follow us on all of our social platforms. First up on Pitt Sports Zone, we hear from more high school football players across Anne Arundel County speak at their media day. On this part 2 of Read Science, we continue to hear from science journalist Marta Zaraska discussing the importance of practicing kindness. Then on the Spotlight DMV, we watch a fireside chat between Maryland Governor Wes Moore and Ed Gordon about leadership and black wealth. Finally, on Let's Talk with Paula, we learn about different ways to help the community deal with crime. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's programming of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle.
What's going on, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Pitts on Pitt Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live from Anne Arundel High School Football Media Day. It's going down. Y'all heard it. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. We smell the grass. The Friday night lights is ready to warm up. It's football go time. Listen, today, we got the Admirals with us, right? Now, they look like Texas A&M to me. However, it's high school. But let's go ahead and kick this off. How y'all doing today, fellas? So, first thing I want to do is, right, I'm going to ask y'all a question, 2, to be exact. Don't answer it looking for a good response from Coach. I want y'all to answer it honestly. Real. Yeah, I want that. Give me 100. Straight like that. All right, so listen. I know you guys had 7-on-7. I know you guys had team workouts, weightlifting, etc., right? Tell me one thing that you did as an individual this year outside of the coaches to work on your game.
For me, it's definitely being in the weight room outside of school. Like, of course, we have team workouts, but where I feel like I'm most improved is in doing workouts and going to camps and just competing to get better.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty similar. I thought I always had a problem putting on weight. I feel like I put on a good amount of weight this off season. I've been in the weight room, getting stronger and bigger. And I think that's going to help my game a lot this year.
Yeah, I'm going to follow the same path as everyone else saying so far. I put on 10 pounds this year, so I've been definitely, staying in the weight room, getting ready for the season. I've been all over like the New England area, going to camps and just competing against other players.
Yeah, so I've been in a lot of camps now, so some competition, and really other than my game, my speed work. Speed is going to be my downside for a little while past few seasons, so I worked that a lot in the off season, and really my agility and kind of just focus on all that.
Yeah, this off season's really been about speed for me. I've been mainly a pocket passer, but now that if I can get 5 or 10 yards on a scramble, we can really be a more 2-3-dimensional team.
All right, so the second question I want to ask you, right? So outside of course, the wins and losses, that's what every team acquires, right? But unfortunately, at the end, there's only one winner. Outside of wins and losses, tell me something that you're most looking forward to this upcoming season, right? And one, challenging yourself on the field, but also each other, where iron sharpens iron. How do you help challenge and motivate each other when the moments are not going in your way, going your favor? Yeah, I gave you a twist one. I seen the way your eyebrows raised up.
I think it's just about making sure that we stay focused. Even if we win, don't get too high. If we lose, don't get too low. Just stay gritty, stay competing 100% every play, making sure that we're all locked in. Especially most of us are seniors. We got to relay that down to the younger kids, make sure that they understand it, especially for when we leave. Stay, 100% everything you do, every rep, every drill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going with them. Can't wait to finish the season with my senior guys. But I definitely think it's competing in practice, especially in practice. The more we compete in practice, the better we're going to be in the games. So just kind of focusing on that and let everybody know that we're all on board on the same mission. it's gonna be hard to stop us.
Absolutely. Play how you practice. Practice habits be good. Game habits is good.
That's right. Yeah, I definitely think, just staying focused this year. We have really high expectations, and we got to stay grounded. And, I'm just excited to run this, this ring year is what we're calling it, this last senior year. And I think, we have a lot of good individual talent. I think we need to stay, together as a team because that's really what's going to lead us into a championship this year.
Yeah, I think this year we got a pretty tough schedule this year, so I think it's about staying motivated through losses and wins, and also not getting complacent. When we do have runs and we're winning a lot of games, don't stop and just keep working.
Okay.
For me, I'm just excited to compete against my guys in practice, and I feel as though one of the most important things, we have a lot of talent, but it's a lot of it, it's mental. So if we can lock in and practice, learn the plays and all that, I think we'll be good.
See, he already led to one of my questions for the coach. So I'm gonna start with that question. One of the things that I talk to when I talk with coaches, as a former athlete, as a former football player, one of the things that I know is the mental aspect of the game is more important than the physical. Physical is about keeping your body in shape to be out and go out and do the things mentally you're telling your body to do. When it comes to film preparation and film study, how important is it for you as a coach that your players are deep diving and having adequate time in the film study?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think physically they did all the work these last 4 years to get up to this point. They got their bodies right and that kind of stuff. And hats off to my staff. I have an amazing staff. So we lift, we go right into meetings. In our meetings, we break down film within 5 minutes of practice is over. So they get some clips right then on the spot. So those 15, 20-minute meetings, we're watching film. And then we give them notes, right, on our film for that night for them to watch. And they even get tests, right? Our quarterbacks get tests and things like that. So we make sure that they're understanding the film process. Because it's easy to say, watch the film.
Right.
But what are you actually looking for?
Right.
So about those notes and things like that, we're coaching them up on that end on what's like to actually watch film.
What are you most excited for as the coach? Looking forward to as the package, all the work you did in the offseason, all the weightlifting, the 7-on-7, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of football.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to this upcoming season to see how your team responds to everything you did in the offseason?
I think I put a ton of pressure on them coming in as a new coach 3 years ago from a program that basically is almost dead, and those guys coming in as freshmen with me. I think the last 3 years I put a ton of pressure on them and myself to kind of get to this level to where we are now. We've gotten here. Now I want to make sure we have some fun with it.
Right.
If they're having fun and playing loose, we're going to be just fine on the football field.
And
That's just kind of where I'm at with it. I want us to be excited, just playing football, special teams, onside kicking, whatever it is to create that kind of excitement. If they're having fun, they got all the tools and everything they need to be successful. So the key for us is, again, I told them respect, the game, and fun. And that's kind of where we at with it this year.
Yeah. Hey, listen, special team sets the tone for the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
Come down like a daisy on special team. Woo, it's about to be a long day.
It's going to be a long.
You
don't realize it until it's 7-6.
Come trying down like,
and the team's out there, and you're like, oh, man.
Oh, man, well, I appreciate you guys taking this time with me, man. My name is Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live, Anne Arundel High School Football Media Day. It's going down. Hey, listen, this fan is rocking. So in this video, when y'all see the camera a little shaky, it ain't me. I promise it ain't.
Trying to keep you cool, that's all.
Hey, I appreciate
Trying to keep you
it.
cool.
It's hot over there.
Right. It's a cool spot.
But y'all take it easy, man. Good luck this year, you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Everybody, you know what it is. It's your boy Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, coming to you live. Anne Arundel High School Football Media Day is going down. It's a lot of athletes in this room. It's a lot of schools represented, but at the end, there's only one. Today, we got the Chesapeake Cougars with us. How you guys doing today?
Good. How about you?
So, this is the fun part, where y'all get to ask the questions and not have to run sprints. So, what I want to know is, outside of team activity, right? That means 7-on-7, weightlifting with the coaches. What have you guys done independently with other coaches or trainers to work on your craft?
So all summer I've basically been in the at the gym, lifting weights, just trying to get my strength up for the season.
I mean, I've been lifting individually without my coaches, and then me and some of my teammates and friends, we'll go to the field every now and then to play around, just practice.
During the off season, I did a lot of weight training in the gym, along with a lot of sprinting, and also did training with Coach Ballard, with one of my buddies. Did a lot of D-line work and a lot of offensive work, along with a bunch of one-on-one camps and training camps and a bunch of prospect camps.
What are you most looking forward to this upcoming season?
This upcoming season, I'm looking forward to just playing the good old game football again. Also pushing myself and showing everybody what I'm about, proving everybody that I'm worth it to come to your school. I'm trying to put myself out there.
This upcoming season, I'm excited to play football again. I mean, football is it's a game I love, and I love hanging out with my friends. It's a community. We're a family. I love playing together and hanging out with my friends. I also just love the sport, so I'm excited. And I know we have a strong team this year, and I'm excited to make a run in the playoffs.
This season, I'm most looking forward just getting back into football, playing again. It's been a long off season, and I'm ready to be on the field again.
So, Coach, can you tell me the importance of film study that you have amongst your players?
So film study is incredibly important. In our county, all the head coaches got together, and we have a thing called league pool and huddle. So every coach has every game from every team. So the teams that are usually the most successful are the teams that spend the most time breaking down film, studying film. Is incredibly important for our players, not only schematically what we're seeing run against, but more importantly, studying the specific players they're going to go against, learning that technique, and helps them prepare for what you're going to see on Friday night.
And lastly, what are you most looking forward to seeing from your players from all the work that you did in the offseason translate to success on the field this season?
Without a doubt, we are most looking forward to just the success. We're in an area where most of these guys that played youth ball were not very successful, didn't win a whole lot of games. They come to Chesapeake, and that changes pretty quick. So for these 3 years specifically, seeing that growth from the freshman year to their senior year now, and how they finish out their career.
Absolutely. Again, I appreciate you guys for taking this time to sit with me. My name is Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, coming to you live Anne Arundel High School Football Media Day. It is a wrap.
Hi, everybody. This is Joanne from Read Science, and I'm here with my co-host Jeff Schomeyer. And we are joined today by Marta Zaraska. And we're so glad to be talking to you today about your new book called Growing Young. Let's see, the subtitle, How Friendship, Optimism, and Kindness Can Help You Live to 100. So it's things that are more important than exercise and diet, right?
Yes, that appeared so.
I just was wondering, so this is the first book I've seen about these recently, about different factors to help keep you young. So I honestly, this year I have read in less than a year, probably less, so January. So I read a book like in November by Sue Armstrong, who has been a guest on our show about P53 gene, but she wrote a book called Borrowed Time, The Science of How and Why We Age. Then early in the year was one by David Sinclair called Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. And then I also read another book called Immortality, Inc., about renegade science, Silicon Valley billions, and the quest to live forever. So a lot of these were about the actual, we see the telomeres. You mentioned telomeres, and we can talk about those. You know, here's what you could do. You could take this pill, and you could sleep, and you could do this, and you can do that. But they were less focused on these friendship, optimism, kindness, these softer things, these things we actually have some control over. And I thought that's interesting that, you know, we are really looking for answers of how not to get sick and old too quickly.
we
And
just
so
love
I'm
pills.
wondering what motivated you to go ahead and do this book?
I mean, it was just science, It was not that I was motivated by anything particular, just finding these studies and just being intrigued and wanting to find out also for myself what really makes us healthy. Because for a very long time, I was always very interested in living healthy. So I eat healthy, and I exercise and so on. And because I've been writing about this for so many years, I wanted to see myself if I'm doing things right. I would also love there to be a pill that just, you just pop it and everything is perfect. But unfortunately, most times it's just wishful thinking, and this is not how it works. And we are the way we are, as I mentioned. Our bodies are still out there, you could say, in the savannah, and we are social species that need to certain things, this involvement with others to function properly, and no pill will replace that. And also, when you think about pills, I find it a little bit sad. You just pop something, live forever, and but isn't it more pleasant to gain the same effects or even better effects because we have no pills like that? And also be so much happier because you are with other people, you are kind, you are connected. This is just so much nicer.
It still could be a hard sell, at least in America, where, yes, the pill that takes care of the particular thing or the superfood that solves the particular problem seems much more popular than the fact that, if you just live a better life and enjoy it more, you'll live longer. It's like, people, I'm not going to do that.
I don't want a better life.
Yeah, but suppose for some of us, and I could use myself as an example, even that, I was much more introverted years ago. I used to be much more neurotic. I worried about things all the time. And part of what you're telling us is that science tells us that if we worry less and are involved more with people in some way, we don't have to turn into extroverts, that we will feel better and it will help us live longer. And the good news is you can learn these things. You can learn to be less neurotic. You can learn how to engage with people in a useful way that still is not awful even for introverts. And I felt that was true. I think I decided 40 years ago, why worry about certain types of things that I can't do anything about? And I practiced not worrying about them. Now, that's one thing. But you have in the book the documented things that tell us, yes, we can learn how to do these things. And in essence, we can practice them until we're better at them. And then we get the benefits, provided we're motivated in the right way to do this. Right? And that's a nice thing, that we can even learn how to be nicer people.
Totally, these are things we can learn and practice, and exercise in a very similar way. We can exercise our muscles to get them stronger. You've mentioned neuroticism yourself. This is one of the personality traits that are the most connected to our health and longevity, this one in negative ways. So the more neurotic you are, the worse it is for your health. Mm-hmm. So when you think about this kind of Woody Allen characters in the movies, they would not live the longest. And yet, these are the things that can be changed through practice. Most personality traits all of them can be changed. Some of them easier, like neuroticism or conscientiousness. Some of them a little bit harder, like extrovertism, for example. But you can work on them basically by faking until you make it. So every day you do things as if you were less neurotic, or more conscientious or more extroverted, and it actually becomes a habit, and it actually changes your personality. And the same even with empathy. People just sometimes say, I'm just not a very empathetic person, but the genetic part here is really, really small. And we can really practice and learn empathy in a very similar way. We can, work on our muscles. Also, not everybody is born with the same basic, muscle development or whatever. Then some people have it easier to work on their muscles, and yet it doesn't stop us from trying. And it should be the same with empathy, And there are so many things. I also give examples in my book that you can actually do to exercise your empathy. And usually these are very pleasurable things, like reading novels, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's right. one thing that was in the book that surprised me, because it was just taken for granted, it's become a part of at least Western society, the type A personality is really not a thing, or is not that big of a fact. I was like,
it's not a thing.
No. We said this since the 50s and the 60s. It's a thing.
It was a tobacco thing, actually. As I write in the book, by now we know that it was basically an invention by the tobacco industry to divert the blame from cigarettes to something else for cardiovascular problems. It was basically invented to just shift the focus on something else. And no, it doesn't exist. There is nothing like being a personality that's bad for your health or anything like that at all. It's pure invention. So now it became cultural. It's in so many books and movies, so we kind of believe it, but it's not real. What is real is a D personality, which is, stands for distressed. So kind of very nervous, neurotic, worrying constantly, depressive, pessimistic. So this is real, and it does have negative impact on health. But a personality, no.
Wow. Yeah, that one blew me away. I went, really? No, that can't be. I'm so used to having a type A personality to, I mean, I don't have it, but, to think that, oh, yeah, there are type A personalities getting heart attacks.
I mean, there are people who you could call type A personality, but it has nothing to do with their health or, their longevity at all.
Mm-hmm. But mentioning it as a fabrication of the tobacco industry has a bigger relevance here. It's like in your book, you walk very nicely on the side of science and not pseudoscience. But how are average people going to be able to, so that you have some tips for how to say, these over here, we have studies that show you and can do these things, and we can trace it to effects, and we understand that will help your longevity. And what do you mean drinking this tea is not going to help or something? Do you have some tips for how to avoid the pseudoscience and maybe stick with the scientific aspects?
I mean, read good science media.
Read your book would be one.
Yes, read my book. But in general, avoid poor quality of media. So just go for the highest, the media of the highest standards. Like, for example, Scientific American is amazing. In the UK, New Scientist, Discover. There is media out there. The Washington Post, also the New York Times. So read really the newspapers and the magazines that have the highest standards out there, and forget about everything else. Because unfortunately, there are always. First of all, there are some journalists, unfortunately, I'm among them. I mean, among journalists, but we sometimes, as journalists altogether, may be guilty of selling stories just for the sake of selling stories. And the internet, is full of things that are based on very poor science or no science at all, or misinterpretation of science. So the best tip ever is just to go and read only the best sources and forget about everything else.
And Joanne and I can agree, as scientists, even science has its flaws, and we try to correct those as we go, but they happen everywhere because we are human beings. You do your best. Can we talk about cultural things? And just because, I don't know, Japan is fascinating, but you had a large look at what we can learn from Japan, including, where do I have it? Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yes,
Ikigai.
I'm fascinated about the idea of Ikigai, purpose in life, which I feel like I'd like to come to to figure out before I die. And I think I've seen a fascination with the Japan culture, and we look at it, we go, if we eat more rice, we'll live longer, or if we drink tea more slowly, we'll live longer, and things. And these may be true, but those are really the superficial parts that you talk about the Japanese and their culture and the Ikigai, and what it is, in addition to being a little bit shorter, that enhances their longevity, is all these socio-cultural aspects that make a sharp contrast to the way Americans tend to run their lives.
I mean, certainly, the diet plays a role, the being shorter plays a role, and some other genes. But, the fact that Japanese are the longest lived nation on the planet, they have also some cultural things we could learn from. And one of them, as you've mentioned, is the ikigai, or what's generally translated into having the reason for living. And when I travel in Japan, this is something people talk very often about, including longevity researchers. When I talk to longevity researchers in the West, they usually start with diet and exercise, and things like purpose in life usually don't come up at all. And in Japan, it comes up very, very fast. And just like, for example, whether the society is equal or not, egalitarian or not, it also comes up very fast in the conversation about longevity in Japan. And ikigai is recognized as a health driver, to the point that the health ministry of Japan also says this is one of the main drivers of healthy living, having a purpose in life. For example, nowadays the place in Japan where people live the longest is no longer Okinawa. It's actually Nagano prefecture. So all these books about Okinawa diet are no longer now it's Nagano. And one of the reasons that the local health authorities think are driving the longevity is exactly that the number of people who have ikigai, or purpose in life, in Nagano are particularly high. And also, it's also the prefecture with the highest numbers of people who are working so-called silver hair jobs. And yes,
I was very excited about that.
Listeners is absolutely, at least for me, it was mind-blowing when I heard about it, and completely confusing at first. Basically, it's when people retire, but they don't really retire. Instead, they retire from their original careers, and then they go to a job agency that's called the Silver Hair Job Agency, and they look for another job to work until they basically die. And the idea here is that the job that they're having is something much, much simpler and much easier than the job they were doing before. So it will be, for example, being a parking attendant, or public space gardener, or helping children cross the street on the way to school, for instance. So these are jobs, they don't do them for money. They do them purely for this kind of feeling of social inclusion and just being, useful and having a purpose in life and things like that. And it's very specific to Japan, but it also is very connected to this purpose in life and ikigai, because the silver hair jobs are giving those people purpose in life and helping them live longer. So, and Nagano exactly is the place where those silver hair jobs are particularly popular.
And that's
right.
The useful, practical explanation. That purpose in life we tend to think of as a grand cosmic thing in America, but purpose in life is a reason to get up in the morning, or to do something, and to have a responsibility of some sort. And it does not have to be a large scale change the world purpose in order to work well, as these silver hair jobs show us, right?
But also the important part here is this kind of giving part, because a few times I had this conversation exactly already in the West, that when people said, okay, my ikigai is playing golf. And in general, I don't think this is how the Japanese mean it. So usually it's also the part of giving to somebody else and taking care of other people is very important here. So it's not exactly the same thing as the reason to get up in the morning, not totally, right? It's much more nuanced than that, and usually involves, people say that taking care of my grandchildren, for example, is my ikigai. Volunteering in my community is my ikigai, things like that, right? So things that are very social and have this kind of giving part to them.
More. Stand up, y'all. The next one. 1-9. Oh,
6. Let me say this. I've had the pleasure of getting to know this man for a few years now. And we were just talking about accountability, and I don't want to put any more weight on your shoulders than you already have. But you are one of the few, and I will say few, I won't ask you to say that, but one of the few people that the majority of people look to you as an accountable politician. They appreciate the way you've shown up in a time that it has been very atypical than the times I grew up in. When you looked to politicians as a North Star. Yeah. Give me a sense of if you feel that and the responsibility you feel in being and showing up as you have.
Hey everybody.
He holding that mic like he about to rock something, ain't he?
I mean, and first, Ed, I just want to say what an honor it is to be here on stage with you. I mean, this man is not just a legend; he is a genius, and he has continued to lift up our community throughout your entire life and career. So blessings, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. And Ron, I just want to, very quickly just say to you and to this entire organization, say bless you. I'm excited to be here. And congratulations on something that's a very special homecoming for us, but then also a very special statement that is being made that will be felt for generations to come. And so congratulations. It's I think about this moment in really clear in really clear ways. And actually, what's funny is that I think over the past, call it 7 months, a lot of people have called to like check on me. Like, are you good? Knowing the kind of assault that we're under right now, and knowing that there are some very direct and very clear crosshairs that are sitting here everywhere that we go. But the thing about it is, I have never been more clear-eyed. I've never been more certain. And I feel like part of it is that I've never been more appreciative of history and this moment that we find ourselves in right now. Where, I think about, and again, we're just outside, for those who aren't from this area, we are literally just miles away from Maryland, from our state, the best state. And I think what's really interesting about Maryland is just the deeply complex history of our state. Where Maryland really is the northernmost southern state in the country. The Mason-Dixon line runs through the state of Maryland. Where even if you look at our state flag, now I'm wearing my state flag, my lapel here, even our state flag is a contradiction. Because our state flag is literally a combination of a Union and a Confederate flag together. And so I think about the weight, but then I think about the past. And I think about the weight that all of those who came before us must have felt. Maryland is literally the birthplace of Harriet Tubman. Maryland is the birthplace of Frederick Douglass. Maryland is the birthplace of Thurgood Marshall. So it's like, I've never been more clear-eyed that what this moment sees, what this moment requires, is that the things that we know and what we are seeing, first of all, it is not new, and frankly, nor is it surprising. I'm tired of being surprised. When I hear news alerts, I'm like, guys, come on. Like, we call this. But I do feel more emboldened, more empowered, more steel-backed now than ever before. Because I am very clear that how we respond in this moment is going to be remembered for generations. What we do in this moment is going to be remembered for generations. And so the weight, the pressure, the eyeballs, they're real. The targets, they're real. But I also know that it's no more real than the eyeballs of the past that are looking at us right now.
Let me ask you this. I want to take two roads, if you will. We were just talking about the importance of state government, particularly in a time like this when the federal government has a different agenda. Give me a sense of, from your seat, the importance of not just your back being steeled, but a state standing strong against an onslaught from a federal government.
I love that because I'm telling you right now, I really believe, I don't know a time in recent history where who your governor is matters more than now.
That's right.
Because like the state's the ball game in many ways. Governors and attorneys general are like, they are the ones who are put in these seats for moments like now. And I remember when I was first getting ready to run and people were like, well, what makes you want to get, why do you want to run for office? Or why do you want to go into politics? Because I'd never been involved in politics for my life. I don't come from that background. And I was like, I want to be the governor. Because governor is a different kind of role. You're a chief executive. You balance a budget. You're the one who sets the direction and the course for where the state is going to go. And I actually love the fact that we can actually show what a different direction looks like and not just talk about it. Like as governors, I don't have the luxury of sitting there and saying, this is bad and that is bad and railing and all that kind of stuff. I have the ability to show a different direction. So for example, and just take so much when it comes to Black culture, Black history, Black businesses, etc. Right? When the federal government decides that they are going to have a full-on assault on banning books and banning history and this and that, you know what I did as governor? I signed legislation banning the banning of books in the state of Maryland. So in the state of Maryland, you cannot do that. Right? I don't have to rail against how bad this is. I signed legislation that actually says it is illegal to do that in the state of Maryland. Right? So when we're watching, when we're saying, okay, there's this assault, when you look at the bill that was passed, where, and a lot of people have missed this, by the way, there is something, there's a clause in there called a risk-sharing agreement that now happens with our HBCUs. Essentially what that did was that took over 70% of our HBCUs and just put them in a negative financial position because it now means they owe the federal government money. Risk-sharing agreement. Look this part up. It's one of the ridiculous parts of that ridiculous bill, right? So at a time when we're watching a federal assault on our HBCUs, and literally this is an existential threat to our nation's HBCUs, what was just put on board in the state of Maryland, I introduced and passed a budget that now made historic over $1.3 billion of investments in our state's 4 HBCUs, making sure they are going to be sustainable regardless of what happens on the federal side. And when it comes to our Black businesses, that we've done procurement reform in the state, because, and I love when people say, well, you have to be careful about using state dollars because you don't want the state picking winners and losers. And I say, what has the state been doing for 400 years?
All right.
And I'm not saying to do this because, let's be clear, the racial wealth gap, which I said on Jump Street, that we were going to be the first state that ends the racial wealth gap in this country. I said, it's not because I'm picking winners. It's because the racial wealth gap has created losers.
That's right.
And it's not even just of a group. It's the country. The racial wealth gap over the past 2 decades has cost this country $16 trillion in GDP. That is not GDP of a group. That's GDP. Racism is expensive. Bigotry is expensive. And so if you actually want to increase GDP, if you want to increase per capita access, if you want to increase capital, if you want to increase economic prosperity for a nation, make sure everyone is participating, and that means doing things like what we've done with procurement reform, where just in my time, we have now allocated over $800 million in state contracts to Black businesses in the state of Maryland. And so who your governor is matters. Because governors can actually not just say, this is bad. Governors can show what is right.
Let me take that by extension to, and I want to clarify here, not the federal government, but federal politics really is just a collection of states.
That's true.
Right? At the end of the day.
That's right.
When you look at that too, now you have to step back and look at the larger political parties. I'm going to say, these are not your words, that both parties are dysfunctional and Democrats are, let's try to be complicit, but they're twirling in the wind. What I would like to hear from you is what you would like to see from the Democratic Party to try to right the ship, if I can mix metaphors.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because, I mean, people have said, they're like, how do you stand and defend what the Democratic Party is doing? And I'm telling them, being very honest, that I can't defend the indefensible, and it's not my job to fix the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest, when I ran for governor, it's not like I was the Democratic Party's choice. They had other candidates who they were backing. Jarvis knows we ran against we had like 11 candidates. We ran against county executives, we ran against 3 statewide elected officials, we ran against 2 Obama cabinet secretaries. We ran against the former head of the DNC, the former head of the Democratic Party, and me. The guy who never run for office before in my life. And we ended up getting more votes than anyone who ever run for a governor in the history of the state of Maryland.
And with that applause, though, we should note that there was a time that looked bleak because you in single digits in the polls were very friendly for a time.
And I was at 1%. I was like, we did our first poll. I'm not voting was polling higher than Wes Moore. So like, I was losing to I'm not voting. So no, this was never something that was like some preconceived, like the party tapped me. The party didn't tap me, the party was trying to destroy me. And so I'm not interested in trying to save the party in that way, just to be very honest. And I think that the answer is that we're not, the Democratic Party, when people are like, well, what's our message? I always say when I hear that, that's the problem. When you're starting with what's our message, how about what are our results? Because the reason you're losing people is not because you didn't come up with the right slogan. Donald Trump, for this man, I will give this man this. He is an amazing vessel for the frustration. He does a great job of telling you what's wrong. He does a great job of telling you who's to blame. He does a great job of saying it's the reason that you don't have a job is because of this group. The reason your child didn't get accepted to college is because of them. The reason you can't afford a home, well, that's them. And people hear that. He's an amazing vessel for the frustration. What he is not is a vehicle for the solution. Because that's not his interest. He's not concerned about that. And so the thing that I think that the party needs to do is stop worrying about what is the right message to pull people back. Start worrying about why have people chosen to leave in the first place? And do you have the policies that could actually focus on that? I tell people, when I was running for governor, I was very clear, like our thing, we are focusing on work, wages, and wealth. Creating pathways for work, wages, and wealth for the people of our state. And I said, that is my North Star, and I'm not budging off of it. And so what did we do? We made sure we focused on things like getting more people back into a workforce. We made historic investments in apprenticeship programs and trade programs, and saying that just because a person chooses not to go to a 4-year school does not mean they should be locked out of economic opportunity for the rest of their lives. That we made sure we can get more people who are coming back with records and get them back into a workforce. It's the reason that I signed the largest mass pardon in the history of the United States of America, where in one stroke of a pen, I pardoned over 175,000 misdemeanor cannabis convictions, because you cannot talk about the benefits of legalization if you do not address the consequences of criminalization. It's the reason that we focus on doing things like raising wages for our workers, because gone should be the day when we have people who are working jobs, and in some cases multiple jobs, and still living at or below a poverty line. And when we focus on wealth, It means making sure that people can own more than they owe, that they can pass something off to their children besides debt, that we can create more, turn more renters into homeowners, that we made historic investments in access to banking and increasing liquidity, that we created something called Just Communities, where I took a look at all the communities, and by the way, it was 419 census tract communities in the state of Maryland that have been the historic victims of things like redlining and mass incarceration and urban redesign. Basically all the things that specifically impacted Black communities all throughout the state of Maryland. And we created a fund called the Just Community Fund that now allocates over $400 million to these communities and putting them at the front of the line to make sure they're getting the capital to address the racial wealth gap and address the harm that happened when you saw the private sector and government collude to hurt Black communities. Unapologetically. But the reason I bring it up is this. We were clear, work, wages, and wealth. And when people said, well, what has then been the impact? What's been the impact is we have some of the highest approval numbers of any governor in the United States of America going into our re-election year next year. So if the party wants to get it right, get your policies right. Because if you get your policies right, the people will respond accordingly. Okay.
One thing that I can say is, in very short order, you have become more than just the governor of Maryland. You can usually, particularly those of us in the media, start to see early on who resonates beyond their state. And we're starting to see that as a pathway to bigger things for many. I'm not going to say, and I tell you this all the time, because I know the answer, so why waste that? But I say this all the time. Is it something that you will really consider the idea that in the next few years, I will at least sit down and take stock in the possibility of running for, I'll just say, higher office?
Well, we have our re-election next year. And
I just want to be the best governor I can be in the state of Maryland.
No, and actually, it's better than that. I don't just want to win re-election. I'm trying to send a message. I'm trying to send a message with our re-election. I'm trying to win places in Western Maryland. I'm trying to win places in the Eastern Shore. I'm trying to win Southern Maryland. I'm trying to win Baltimore and Montgomery and Prince George's and Cecil and Hartford. I'm trying to win them all. And I'm trying to win them all because I want people to know that we kept our promises. That when we said leave no one behind, that we meant that, and that the state moved accordingly. And so I really do believe that come next November, if we do what we need to do, we are going to send a message. And yes, the message will be, I want that message to be heard loud and clear, and not just from Western Maryland to Eastern Shore. I want the entire country to be like, what just happened in the state of Maryland? And so if we can, I am so committed to getting this right. And I really believe if you get this right, then you will accomplish everything that God has intended. But you got to make sure that you accomplish the mission in front of you. And the mission we have in front of us right now is I'm trying to show every single person in the state of Maryland that this governor understands the assignment.
Good afternoon and good evening and good morning. Welcome to the Let's Talk with Paula show, and I talked enough in the last show, so if you want to hear what I had to say, listen to the Lady Nighthawk show. If you want to hear what both of us had to say, listen to Jeremiah Interdenominational Church. Now it's time for my guest host to introduce himself, and I'm going to let him talk, because that's what he came on here for. But something I saw on television before I came here had me riled up, okay? So I couldn't let it go. I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead. Introduce yourself.
I'm Jonathan Hans Kirby.
Sergeant.
Yeah, I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. I'm just here on this show because Paula asked me to come to the show. I guess I was the last of the crop.
That's not true. I had you come back on this show because it was something that we didn't finish the last time, and I told you that I was going to have you come back on and finish. And that's why you came circle right back around. I mean, it's people that I got that they sitting waiting for me to make a, so no, you're a special person to me. So if you say that you want to come back and finish up whatever you was talking about, yeah, you done bump some other people.
We could have, something that's on my mind, what you were talking about in the last show, about people getting injured and hurt. I had a friend of mine that was injured. Mm-hmm. You know, a guy took her and threw her down in the street, mm-hmm. like she wasn't nothing.
That's what we were talking about.
You know, and people, we have to stop this because he didn't know who he was throwing to the ground, and you know, disrespecting her little 7-year-old son. Mm-hmm. You know, and we just gotta cut this out. We gotta cut it out because, you know, the tension is up, but it don't really have to be up if people don't do stupid things.
Right.
So, you know.
And if they had things for them to do.
Right, correct. When I found out about her issue, I happened to be looking at Facebook, and she one of my favorites. You know, as far as professionals are concerned, and she helped me a lot in my sickness. And when I saw that, you know, rage came up in me. I didn't care who he was, you know, and then found out some other things, so we investigated him and, you know, got a lot of stuff on him, mm-hmm. you know, and you know, she has clippings and she's been injured. I mean, she really injured.
And she had witnesses.
And she had witnesses, and they shut it down. Mm-hmm. We went to all the people they're supposed to. Don't nobody want to handle it.
Mm-hmm. With the pictures, the witnesses, yep. You know, I think that's awful. Did you send her to Van Hollen?
Yep.
Okay.
And his office don't take domestic
violence. Did you check with what county is she, with the mayor in her area?
Yep. Right here in this area.
For real.
I'll show you the clippings.
No, I believe you, but for real.
For real. And
which county came out? Was it the county or the city police?
City police.
Okay, so I had a similar experience. I didn't let it get that far because I went right back into the store. Okay, it was one of the vagrants was outside, and he asked me for money when I went into a 7-Eleven. I'm not gonna say which one. And I told him I didn't have any money. He said, well, when you come out, you should have some, right? I ain't say nothing. I just went on in the store. When I came back out the store, he started to approach me like he was going to do me some harm, cuss me out, call me a bunch of names, and tell me he kicked my butt right here, you know, and he'll take my money from me, right? So I went back into the 7-Eleven, and I called. I had the lady call behind the counter. Instead of her calling the county police, I don't know if they were directed to call the police department for Bowie. I don't know. But it was a female that showed up. The guy left by the time she got there, but she knew who it was that I was talking about. And she acted like it was nothing. I was very disappointed. And I asked her, was she going to write a report? And she said, oh, well, he hangs around here all the time. Like, well, you let it's okay for him to harass people coming in out the 7-Eleven, because what's going to happen is people are going to stop coming. Y'all come in here and eat and do whatever, but people aren't going to stop coming in here because he actually, I was threatened by him.
Or see, they don't know who you are and who you know,
mm-hmm.
you know, at the same time, and, you know, something could happen.
So it's like, so I asked her, so I almost had to force her to write a report. so I could have it on hand, and the people in the 7-Eleven had a report about this person, okay? And she just took it as being nonchalant. I didn't, because I felt intimidated. I felt threatened, you know? So when you told me about the other lady, that she was actually abused in front of one of these stores, I'm not gonna say the name of the store, I can only speak for myself, that, you know, we're gonna have her come on, but we just wanna make sure that we have all the okays for her to do that when she comes, okay? But it's a shame that, so it's not just the teenagers, you understand what I'm saying? It depends on who's a vagrant that's sitting outside that has a mental problem, or is hungry enough, you understand what I'm saying, that they feel that they have to intimidate women. Because I don't ever see them intimidate men. I always see them intimidate women, okay? But I'm saying to you, if that happens to you, immediately go back inside the store and wait for the police to come. Whether they do anything or not, just be safe, okay? Not that you could get in your car, but he told me, if you get in your car, I'm gonna break your window. So I said, well, nah, to myself, I ain't gonna give you an opportunity to do that, so let me go back in. You wanna break the store's window, you do that. So I went back in until the police came, and I pulled off before they left.
See, that would have drew the line right there. I mean, even though that's a material thing, you know, that would have draw the line for me.
Well, if he was gonna throw it, he was gonna throw it to hurt me, not just to break the window.
Exactly, and that's
I was
the
gonna
way
be
I
the
would have
target.
took it.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. I was the target. It wasn't that the window he was trying to break. It's like, okay, you think you're gonna be safe in there? No, I'm gonna throw it at you.
Exactly.
You know, so just be careful. If you're at a store and that happens to you, go back inside the store and call the police. You don't have to let them call. You call the county police. Don't call the Bowie police. I don't know if they're gonna send them out anyway, but call the county police, because I think they have a little bit more authority. I don't know. But I just feel like that, since the story you just told me too, that apparently the county police has more jurisdictions and more authority than the Bowie police. Yeah. So I would suggest that you call yourself and call the county police, okay? And tell them, nope, I don't want, you know, Bowie's good, their police station, I ain't saying nothing bad about you, I just don't know what your jurisdictions and restrictions are versus what the county can and cannot do, you know? So you have to make your own choice. We have a very good Bowie police station here, okay? So I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just saying that I don't know who has the more authority to do something, the county or the, you know, city police. Because it sounds like you having a problem with the city police.
Well, they need a little bit more.
Not you, the person. The person.
They need a little bit more training, you know, and they don't have the ethic, police ethic. They don't use it at all. You know, they figure they got the big gun beside them, and, you know, they got the authority and the handcuffs and the mace and, you know, the OC spray or whatever, but that's not how you get a criminal. You know, you have to use your brain to do that. Why waste a bullet? That's a waste. And then when you're wasting a bullet, then you're gonna waste a life. You know, so it's two wastes, you know, and then you're gonna waste your life, because if you ain't file that thing right at the same time, you know, probable cause or whatever, you in trouble, you know, and don't let anybody know who you are. Come on, that's more stuff.
Well, I feel sorry for her, and you know, I always give Van Hollen credit, you know, and he helps people. So I don't know, because that was out his jurisdiction, you know, that he didn't handle it. But I've never seen a person be turned away from whenever I've sent them over to his office. Well,
she really wasn't turned away. It's just that they didn't have, I guess, enough attorneys to take over that, take over it. But they're gonna hear it again.
But that sounds right. That sounds more like what must have happened, and it's during the summertime than him not assisting at all. Because anybody I've ever, even myself, I've never